Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kid Lee, and this is it. The last recap show for E3 2014. It was a pretty good show this year. There was a lot of new stuff that came out, a few surprises along the way. You know, some of these E3 shows or events are better than others, but I thought this year was a very solid year. So we'll be going over my last sort of slate of games for this video. And once again, I will be relying on my trusty notepad to try and keep me on schedule for this video. So let's go ahead and kick things off with Mortal Kombat X. Mortal Kombat X is an upcoming fighter game currently in development by NetherRealm Studios. It's Mortal Kombat. What more do I need to say, right? We'll get into what are the changes in this latest version. This game will feature new characters such as Cassie Cage, the daughter of Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade. At the fighter select screen, you'll be able to choose from 3 different versions of each character. Each one will have a slightly different fighting style and moves. They have brought back the X-ray system and running for this version of MK. And then the overall combat speed has also been increased. The game looks great and might be the best looking fighting game out there. So Mortal Kombat X will be released on the PS3, PS4, Xbox One, Xbox 360, and PC on a release date of, we don't know at this time, but sometime this fall. Next up, we have got Fable Legends. Fable Legends is an upcoming cooperative RPG in the Fable series developed by Lionhead Studios. The game is set 400 years before the events of the first game. Now, unlike other games in the Fable series, Fable Legends is essentially a dungeon crawler with little in the way of villager interactions, purchase of properties, and morphing due to alignment and etc. You know, stuff we've seen in other previous, well, Fable games. Like other games in the franchise, heroes can also use expressions to interact with the villagers. Now, in this one, players can customize their hero's weapons, look, armor, abilities, and things along those lines. But now in this game, the main mode will actually have 4 players fighting against a 5th player. The so-called 5th player, or villain player, is able to use a tower defense type top-down view to place creatures and traps in the way of the so-called hero players to try and stop them from reaching their goals. So this one is quite different than the previous Fable games. I would say overall, the general impression of this has been good. So we'll have to see where they go with it. Fable Legends is going to be an Xbox One exclusive, and I believe is going to be a fall 2014 release, but could be pushed to 2015. Not sure on that. The next game we're going to take a look at, we're actually going to take a look at a couple of the smaller ones, because sometimes some of these small little games are actually surprises to people and can be a lot of fun. So the next one we're going to look at was one I came across called DubWars. And DubWars is a music rhythm shooter game being developed by Mora Interactive. The game is a music game that combines the mechanics of a top-down shooter with the power of dubstep and electronic music. So your weapons are synced to the music, creating times of intense weapon loadouts and calm moments where your survival skills are tested. Each song is a level, and they hope to release 15 to 20 levels for the actual release of the game, with more on the way. So here for just a minute, let's go ahead and stop and actually listen to this. And And so there you go on that. Very interesting. DubWars will be out for the Ouya, which I'm sure loads of people have that. But most importantly, the PC, I believe it's going to be a Steam game, and a few of the consoles as well. I think the Ouya and Steam versions will be out in 2014, but the console versions might be spring 2015. So if that one looked interesting to you, definitely keep an eye on that. Next, we'll move on to EnTwined, and this was actually a game that was announced at the Sony press conference. So EnTwined is sort of a guided path game that was developed by Pixel Opus. And why I say was instead of in development is because the game's actually already out. It actually got released this week on the PS4, and it will be soon released on the PS3. But back into the game for a minute. EnTwined is about two souls, a bird and a fish, that are in love but can't be together because they are so different. Wait, don't technically... I guess some birds eat fish, but anyway, never mind. Players are tasked with guiding the two souls simultaneously with each analog stick. Basically, you will control the fish on the left analog stick and the bird on the right analog stick, I believe. And so you basically move them together in order to sort of get the guide pathing to go with that. Once the two souls are united, they will transform into a magnificent dragon that you will use to paint the sky. So it's a very artsy game that the PlayStation brand has been famous for. And as I mentioned previously, it is currently out on the PS4 and it will be coming soon to the PS3. Next, we will jump to Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous is an MMO space trading and combat simulator being developed by Frontier. The game features a persistent universe with 4 billion star systems, and you can visit all of them. You start out with a small ship and very little money. From there, your path is your own. You could be a pirate, a trader, a mercenary, or something else. There are many different types of ships in the game as well. These different types can help you with what your playstyle is. If you wanted to be a trader, you would want a ship with a large cargo hold, but that kind of ship, may have weaker armor and weapon systems compared to other ships. If you decide to take the pirate route, you will need to watch out for other players, as there is actually a player bounty system. As part of the combat, there is subsystem targeting, or if you are more of a Star Trek fan, the game also features a diplomatic system. You are able to hail friendly or enemy ships. They are also planning to add ships that take more than one person to control, but are not sure if that will make the launch of the game. So Elite Dangerous will be out for the PC sometime in the later half of 2014. So briefly, I want to just talk about the spaceship games, because I was a huge fan of Freelancer, and in my opinion, there really hasn't been a game like Freelancer that has come out since, Freelancer. And I've been looking for one, and then all of a sudden, this year, or this E3, there's basically 3 of them. The most famous one is Star Citizen. That's a huge crowdfunded game. And then we have got Elite Dangerous, and then the other one that was just announced this week is No Man's Sky. So if I were to actually take a look at all 3 of them, and again, all 3 games are still in development, so things can change, just bear that in mind. Star Citizen is like a very technical game. Now, I'll back off and I'll say that all 3 of these games look beautiful and fantastic in their own way. But Star Citizen is a very technical game. You could almost say it's sort of like EVE Online as far as how technical it is. When Elite Dangerous, I would actually say that game is more like Freelancer compared to the other ones. And then No Man's Sky, again, that one was just released this week, so we kind of have a lack of information about it, but that one could also be very freelancer-like. But, again, this is just my opinion. Looking at the 3 games, I actually think Star Citizen is the weakest of the 3, which I'm sure is going to blow people's minds, because that's like the game of all games right now when it comes to this space combat and trading. But I'm really kind of digging Elite Dangerous. That is the kind of game that I'm looking for. Now, No Man's Sky also is very, very impressive, but again, we have sort of a lack of information about that one at the moment. You know, initially I was totally on board with Star Citizen, but after getting into the detail on these 2, I'm kind of thinking I don't want to play Star Citizen anymore, and I want to play one of these other 2 because they look better. So there's just some of my thoughts on that. Now, the next game I'm going to jump into, this game is definitely one of the top games of this year's E3. It's been making a huge splash, and people have been going nuts over it. It was introduced at the Microsoft press event, and the name of this game is Ori and the Blind Forest. And I was actually following this game a little bit on Twitter just to see what people were saying, and it's amazing on how many people were commenting on how the trailer they showed made them cry or made them feel sad. It seems like it's one of the most emotional games that's come out in some time, and I'll fully admit, you know, I consider myself a hardcore gamer, and this trailer kind of made me tear up a little bit. It was so sad. So it's a game that I can't wait to play. And again, with it being just announced a couple of days ago, there's not very much info out about it. But here's what I've got for you. So Ori and the Blind Forest is a platform adventure game being developed by Moon Studios. The game features a complex talent tree system and many abilities that can be combined in a variety of ways to push the control of the game. So it's basically, as I said, it's an action adventure. It's a platformer. Some people are kind of referring it to as like a less harsh version of like Super Meat Boy. But it's one you'll definitely want to keep an eye on. And again, if you have not seen this trailer, go check it out and let me know what you think of it. You know, did it make you tear up? Did it make you sad? I think it very well could be the best trailer that I've seen at E3 this year. But Ori and the Blind Forest is going to be a PC and Xbox One, and will be released in the fall of 2014. So I've got 2 more games that I'm going to just very, very briefly talk about. And the first one, and they're both Nintendo games. So Nintendo is kind of anti-YouTube, so I can't show any footage. But I just want to briefly talk about Hyrule Warriors, if you have a Wii U. That game looks really interesting. Hyrule Warriors is sort of based on Dynasty Warriors, so it's that sort of gameplay, third-person hack and slash, where you're fighting over like 100 enemies at the same time. But Hyrule is Zelda. So it's basically the Legend of Zelda type characters in a Dynasty Warriors type of game. So that game looks really interesting. And then the other one I wanted to just briefly mention is Splatoon, which is a brand new Nintendo game that was announced. And it's been getting really great reviews for the people who have had a chance to play it. But basically what it is it's like a third-person shooter, and I'm not even quite sure. I want to say it's 4-on-4 or 5-on-5. But basically how it works is you're armed with a paint gun or paint cannon, and the winner of the match is determined by how much paint is on the ground of sort of the arena. So, you know, you have the 2 teams fighting each other, and you shoot each other with the paint guns or whatever, and they explode, and you have to respawn and do all that. But you're painting the game space. And it's just very fast-paced, and it's got a lot of really interesting mechanics. So if you haven't seen anything on that game, check that one out. And the final thing that I will talk about here just briefly is going back to WildStar here real quick. Just reminding everybody that I have plenty of WildStar coverage coming up. The new version of the Intergalactic News Network, I believe, is going to start next week. And so in the spirit of WildStar, I have got a few keys to give away. If you have not had a chance to get in and play WildStar, I have got some 7-day passes to give away. So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to keep this really simple. I want you to just email me. The email address is kidleeasf@gmail.com, and in the subject line, put I want WildStar. And I will hand out a few of these, as many as I have actually. And then if you look down in the notes below this video, when the keys are gone, I will put a note that the keys are gone. So before you send your email, check to see if there's a note. If there's no note, go ahead and send me that email real quick, and I'll just do it first come, first serve. So whoever sends me the first, few emails are the people who are going to get the WildStar keys. So there you go on that. But yep, it was a fantastic E3. I can't wait till next year. We've got several other game conventions coming up. We've got, the Comic-Cons and PAX Prime in Seattle and Gamescom and a few other ones towards the end of the year. But yep, that will go ahead and do it, ladies and gentlemen. So everybody keep playing and have fun.